We're still 2 months out from the Nebraska State Fair, but the grounds are already buzzing. Tonight on First at 5, Junior Nationals come to Grand Island. And with hot weather rolling into Nebraska, we talk summer safety at your local watering hole.
Chances of thunderstorms reduced to a slight chance now, and things warm up in your first alert forecast. We'll have details tonight on First at 5.
And good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight at 5. Colleen's off this week. We're known as the beef state, and this week cattle-raising families from coast to coast find themselves in central Nebraska for a big event. Steve White has details live from Grand Island. Steve, what's going on there?
It's at the Nebraska State Fairgrounds, playing host to yet another Junior National Cattle Show. If you're keeping score, that's about the fourth one in just over a year. This week, it's the Key and Maine Anjou Junior Nationals. Kids from a couple of dozen states are here, including some from not so far away: Glenville, Air, Cairo, and St. Paul. No matter how far they drove, it's a labor of love working with cattle.
It is a lot of work. I mean, you got to get them in the barn in the morning, feed them twice a day, rinse them twice a day, blow them out and all that, and make sure all the cows out in the pasture are doing good, all your calves are healthy, and all that, and raise your crops too.
Most of the attention comes during the 15 minutes in the show arena, but an event like this is much more than showing cattle. They have lots of events and contests that take place outside the barns as well. Coming up tonight at 6, we're going to talk to some of these kids, pretty well-rounded kids, and learn more about what they're doing, and also talk about how this is another big win for the State Fairgrounds.
All right, sounds great. Thanks, Steve. U.S. Senator Deb Fischer announcing today that she is co-sponsoring the Death Tax Repeal Act, a bill that would abolish the federal estate tax. In a statement, Ms. Fischer says, quote, Nebraskans know all too well that small business owners and family farmers and ranchers are hit the very hardest by the death tax. Nebraska Senator Mike Johans has co-sponsored the repeal, which is supported by the American Farm Bureau Federation. And while he showed support for Fischer in Washington, Mr. Johans introduced 2 amendments to the immigration reform bill that would strengthen employment verification systems. The first would fortify identity verification tools for employers, allowing them to ask background questions to verify the identity of new employees. The second would require the Congressional Budget Office to provide an annual update on the cost of any new immigration reform efforts. And former Senator turned Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel has made his first trip back to the Good Life State for a speech at his alma mater in Omaha. Mr. Hagel speaking this afternoon at the University of Nebraska in the Big O on the challenges the Defense Department is facing. Tomorrow, he will visit U.S. Strategic Command on Offutt Air Force Base for a series of briefings. The United States is expected to begin peace talks with the Taliban Thursday at the group's newly opened offices, but Afghan officials won't be taking part in the discussions. The Afghan president says his country won't participate unless the talks are completely Afghan-led. President Obama says the reaction was expected.
We had anticipated that at the outset there were going to be some areas of friction, to put it mildly, in getting this thing off the ground.
Afghanistan also shelved talks with the U.S. over keeping troops in the country past next year. All combat personnel are expected to be out by the end of 2014. In other news tonight, the Federal Reserve says it sees signs of economic improvement, but it's not abandoning the economic stimulus. ABC's Taman Bradley has more.
Those record low interest rates, they're staying in place. The Fed has decided to keep its economic stimulus program going for now. But Chairman Ben Bernanke signaled the stimulus, including the purchase of $85 billion a month in bonds, could be scaled back later this year if the economy continues to improve.
If the subsequent data remain broadly aligned with our current expectations for the economy, we would continue to reduce the pace of purchases in measured steps through the first half of next year, ending purchases around mid-year.
The current policy is intended to encourage economic activity and spur job growth. Bernanke says risk to the recovery has diminished since last fall, but now is not the time to change monetary policy.
To use the analogy of driving an automobile, any slowing in the pace of purchases will be akin to letting up a bit on the gas pedal as the car picks up speed.
Last month, employers added 175,000 new jobs, but unemployment ticked up to 7.6%. Fed officials predict that unemployment will fall to a level between 6.5% and 6.8% by the end of 2014. On the housing front, Chairman Bernanke confirmed that increasing home construction and sales has been a key source of growth for the economy.
The housing sector, which has been a drag on growth since the crisis, is now obviously a support to growth. It's not only creating construction jobs, but as house prices rise, increase household wealth.
Markets initially jumped and then plunged after the Fed's announcement. The Dow closed down 206 points. Taman Bradley, ABC News, Washington.
Well, with the first day of summer right around the corner, many people have already started getting out to their favorite pool or lake. But water safety is something to keep in mind for those young and old. NTV's Alyssa Willard has more.
Every year, approximately 3,500 people die in the U.S. due to accidental drownings. Most of these drownings occur in unsupervised lakes and rivers where water is muddy and unclear. But remembering easy tips can help save lives.
A lot of people, I have the life jacket in the boat, but when the boat tips over or something happens, you can't get the life jacket on the water. There's no way, especially if you're in a panic situation. So wear the life jackets. Stay where there's a swimming area. And a lot of times, if you're not a swimmer, let people know.
And just because someone may look old enough to swim doesn't always mean that's the case. Roughly 30% of adults can't swim the length of a pool, and the number of adults that can't swim in general is greater in areas with little bodies of water nearby.
We have adults who can't swim. They're not good swimmers, but they're not afraid of the water. They'll come in the shallow water, they'll play with their kids. And I have adults who won't even go near the water because there's a fear. It's the adults who are afraid of the water that we're concerned about here at the pool, because that'll be passed on. It's like a fear of spiders, a fear of snakes. That'll be passed on to the children.
Private lessons are provided for adults that are interested in learning to swim or would like to learn a better technique, because the more comfortable you are in the water, the safer you'll be.
Alyssa Willard reporting. Summer's official kickoff means more time outdoors, soaking up those rays, of course. But did you know, right here in the Midwest, we are especially prone to developing skin cancer? NTV's Nina Harrelson joins us live in studio with more on why that is and how to spot it. Nina.
Seth, we're seeing a rise in skin cancer across the country, but that's especially true here in the Midwest. And experts say our lifestyle is to blame. For one, we tend to spend more time outside doing recreational activities, but we also spend more time working outside. Whether that's on the farm or ranch or doing construction, every minute of sun exposure adds up.
Part of the country, the incidence of non-melanoma skin cancer is 1 in 3 people. That's a lot. The incidence of melanoma is 1 in 60 people. That's incredible. It doesn't get as much publicity as breast cancer and colon cancer and prostate cancer, but it is very important, very common, and it can be lethal.
One of the most important things you can do is to pay attention to your skin. Watch for moles that are changing color or shape and sores that don't seem to heal. The good news is that with early detection and treatment, oftentimes skin cancer is almost 100% curable.
The deeper they go, the more aggressive they can be. They can metastasize and they can be bad news. So nobody likes to hear the word cancer, but if you get it early, like any kind of cancer, it's a good thing.
Coming up at 6, I'll share some skin-saving tips with you, and there's more to it than just wearing sunscreen. Seth. All
right, Nina, thanks so much. For the first time in their history, the Nebraska Danger football team will host an IFL playoff game. The third season franchise, which won just 8 games in its inaugural season and counting last year as well. They'll take a 10-4 mark into the conference title against the Colorado Ice on Saturday night. The winner will move on to the United Bowl to take on either Sioux Falls or Cedar Rapids. Kickoff is slated for 7 at the Heartland Event Center. Doors open at 6 for pregame activities. The heat wave is building here in central Nebraska. Chief forecaster Kent Boughton will tell you how hot it's going to get. That's up next. And with parts of Nebraska still locked in a drought, we'll tell you how much it cost the government to insure farmers last year. Plus, new insight into a 17-year-old mystery that could reopen the TWA Flight 800 crash investigation. We're coming right back after this break.